Hello, everyone, and welcome to Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I'm going to be interviewing Lizzi Cutler. Lizzi Cutler is a past life quantum healing practitioner, and we're going to be discussing the information that's been showing up recently in her sessions. For those of you who aren't familiar with Lizzi, Lizzi is a transformational coach with a proven track record of helping high achievers and individuals seeking deeper personal growth, overcome stress, remove emotional and energetic blocks, and elevate both their personal and professional lives. Known for delivering lasting results, Lizzi uses a variety of techniques, including energy work, guided visualization, and emotional clearing to empower her clients to release tension, realign their focus, and unlock their full potential. Lizzi, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Liz. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I ran across your post on Instagram and it caught my eye. It was the 5 things that are showing up right now in sessions, and they're amazing. I can't wait to talk about them because I feel they're so in alignment and they resonated so much with me that I wanted to have you on the show. Lizzi, tell us first, though, what is past life quantum healing?
So, past life quantum healing is different than a past life regression in that my work started out. I never know what word to use, but I called myself an energy worker in that I've always done this over Zoom or just over the phone, but I can feel where people have blocked energy, and then I'm instantly given words to put to that energy. So, whether it's an emotional or a physical block, what's tied to it, what memories are tied to it, and I've always sort of worked in this lifetime for the past 10 years. And I'm able to clear it. So whether I can clear it for the client or I can show them what they need to do to clear it for themselves. And what kept coming through, I was honestly getting a little, not bored, but it felt a little mundane, the work that I was doing, which is wild to say that energy work over Zoom felt boring. But I did a random past life training, one of the Dolores Cannon trainings, and she sort of is like the godmother of this work. And when I was practicing and doing the work, I was also being called to do the energy work that I do. So I kind of made it my own. So while I'm in sessions with people, what I realized was I'm now able to see what's cooking from this lifetime. And now with the past life work, I'm also able to go past and future because sometimes in these sessions, people are going future, people are in other entities, different types of bodies, no bodies at all. So it's really kind of like the full quantum spectrum. And whatever they are able to clear in that session is great. And like yesterday, I was doing a session and she wasn't able to clear it. And they were calling on me and giving me direction on how to clear it for her. So, not your average past life regression. And it's also a lot of past life regressions that I heard of. It's the practitioner that's speaking the whole time. And the way that I work is we put you into sort of a light hypnotic state and you're the one speaking. And so, of course, most people's number one fear is what if nothing comes through? And just to let everybody listening know, that's never happened. so, so
That
that's what
sounds
makes it
like
a little different than a normal past life regression.
Nice. That sounds like wonderful work. And I could see it being a great blend with the energy work. And Dolores Cannon's work always shows up in my algorithm, so I'm always seeing
Yeah.
things from her. I love her. I've fallen in love with her over the years and have considered myself actually adding it to my toolkit as well. What led you to doing the work that you do, Lizzi?
I was a yoga and meditation teacher for a long time. I trained in Asia and came back and was working. I'm from Chicago. I came back home, was working at home, and I sort of just felt things kept happening to me and you'll relate to this, I'm sure, and most of your listeners will. I would think of someone and then they would text. I would have a feeling about something and then it would happen. Like my intuition was getting so loud that I couldn't really ignore it anymore. And so I started doing every training that came across this was before Instagram was really as big, but I did a couple Reiki trainings and my Reiki teachers kept saying, doesn't that feel so incredible? Can you feel that? And I was like, I don't feel a freaking thing. I don't know what you people are talking about, but like, I got nothing. But then when I would practice and put my hands near people, I would see things and I would hear things. And I finally had a moment of like, screw it. I'm just going to say what I'm seeing and hearing. And it turned out I was seeing someone's dad, or I was seeing, a past lover or something like that. So it all snowballed into what it is now. And it's certainly still evolving. But that was kind of the impetus. I was actually getting divorced. And it was like a moment of sort of being cracked open of like, okay, I can't do the traditional thing that I thought I was going to be in this life. What's next? And that was when it all started opening.
That's amazing. In your client sessions, what has been coming up?
So So this is going to all sound nuts. And I just want everyone listening to know this sounds nuts to me too. And the majority of my clients are not intuitives. They're CEOs and working full-time parents and like normal corporate, I'm putting that in air quotes, whatever normal is, normal people who are not doing this type of work. And one of the big things, like this was the list that drew you to me, the list of the 5 things that have been coming up lately. The first thing that I put on that list was that we are not alone and we have never been alone. And again, I hear you and I know this sounds loony, but multiple different clients who don't know each other have channeled beings from other planets. And the first time, it actually happened in the very first session that I did on a friend, where her second life that we saw, she was on another planet and she got the name of the planet and we felt the energy of it and we understood why we were seeing it. So then when it happened with other clients, I wasn't necessarily freaked out. I've also done a lot of plant medicine. So like this stuff doesn't scare me, but it also didn't necessarily surprise me. I'm just saying this because if you're a listener and you're thinking, here's this chick who hears not only dead people, but aliens, like, what are we listening to? I get it. And it happened across multiple different clients where they were different beings from different planets, different stars. All of them were helping, the words that I got were, we're trying to help you. We're trying to help your planet. And they called it the human experiment, that they were trying to help the human experiment. It sounded very, like very Star Wars, like that they have intergalactic meetings about us. And it's like they're trying to figure out how to help the problem child, is what I kind of keep hearing. And they're sending love to us from afar. They're watching, they're sending star seeds. So those of us who felt like we've never quite fit in here, you might be a star seed. I've also heard them called light workers. Um, but I've spoken to people from Palladium, and I'm blanking on the other one. Oh, Arcturians have shown up. And then some others, when I ask the name, the response I get is, you don't have a name for us. Like we can't make that sound.
That's
So that's one big,
fantastic. I love
yeah,
all of the things that are showing up for you in your client sessions. I think it's so fantastic and so fascinating since we're going through this shift. All these things are being revealed. Yes, they've been talked about for years, but finally, like they're front and center. They're top of
yeah,
mind. People are starting to have more conversations. They're not afraid to talk about this. Most of my listeners, know about this. Those
good.
of you who are coming on and you're like, oh, well, I don't know, kind of be open minded about it. Just planting the seed and hearing this, you might even start, noticing signs, synchronicities, start questioning, gosh, you know what? I really, don't feel like I fit in this box. That was society. And I've always thought that there was more. Let yourself get curious about it if you're out there, kind of wondering, I don't know, I'm on the fence about this. But it comes up. It comes up in my client sessions as well. When I'm working on people, I have angels and guides and aliens come in and help me do the work. It's so fascinating. I want to dive a little bit deeper into this because it's funny. My card pull this morning was Archangel Michael, and I clearly got we are not alone. And that was the message to convey to everybody, was that we are not alone and we have all of these beings at the ready to help us. All we have to do is ask. So give us like little snippets, if you can. I know that there's boundaries with sessions, but a few little snippets about like who is showing up. And if it is the Pleiadians, like how are they showing up and what are they saying? I know I relate to the Pleiadians. They're very much love energy. Share a little bit.
Mhm. So most of what I've gotten with the Palladians, it is love. And most of the beings from these other places, what they've explained is they're not here to harm us. Like the movies that we see could not be farther from the truth of what they're actually doing. I asked kind of what is it that you're trying to help us do? Like you're trying to help us what? What is it? What's happening here? And they said they're trying to help us ascend, like they're trying to help us get to the next level of consciousness, of being able to transform or transition while we're in a human body into a higher level instead of having to wipe everything off and starting over as they have in the past. So it feels like what they're trying to get us to do is wake up while we're still in the human consciousness. And when they're saying that they're helping us, the way that they've shown me or that I've seen that they're helping is that they're literally beaming in love energy into this planet. And because we've been a planet of duality, the way it was explained by these Arcturian beings was that we, I can't remember how it started, but we were infected with the virus of fear and it spread like wildflower. And it wasn't always like that here. And that what they're trying to do now is sort of dull that back so that love can be the empowering energy instead of fear. That we've sort of been like mutated into this other form where fear leads us instead of love leading us. And so they're trying to help us shift back. Another being that came through, I asked, do you see us as like the way we see a third world country? And they laughed and they said, third, more like fifth, sixth, seventh. You guys are so far behind. We're like a little, again, like we're like, it's like a kid exploring an anthill. Like they're watching us like, this is so cute. Look at what the toddlers are trying to do. Look at how they're trying to do it. So really the goal from what I've understood is to get back to the place of knowing, as we've all said, like we are all connected, we are all one, and we can intellectualize that in a certain way. And I think what they're trying to get to is actually embodying that oneness and embodying that feeling of being connected. And what I've seen when I ask of what will, because it was explained to me as old earth and new earth. And I was told that new earth will look more like true community, true balance, true equality, where we're not hoarding more than we need and we're happy to give and receive. And there's more, there's more balance, certainly than where we are now. And that the way that we'll know we're transitioning into that is it will sort of feel like we've dipped our toe in and it will, these were the words they use, like it'll feel like you've dipped your toe in and then suddenly you will be submerged. And once we're submerged, we won't know from old earth. It's not like we will miss this or will miss other people. And like there will be waves of people sort of embodying or transitioning. And that, of course, my question was like, well, what about like our kids or our dogs or our other people? And they're like, it won't feel like we've died and deserted them. It will just feel like either they never existed or they will be coming as well. That's a lot of info. I'll stop.
No, it's great info too. And it's funny that you brought up the white instead of wiping out everything, that they're trying to do it while we are embodied and getting that shift and that um evolving in consciousness. When I was in Egypt, this is the mental image that they gave me. I was sitting on the stairs and I, saw this huge being with a staff and the process of taking that staff and just wiping everybody out. It was literally a swiping like this and just wiping everybody out. And I think the feeling I got was that it really created a fracture and that fear that you were talking about. And of course, when fear settles in, it's going to spread like wildfire, like you were saying. And, what a gift to, have them now, instead of just wiping us out like they have numerous times before, allowing us to evolve,
Yeah.
allowing us to step into this new age and, awaken while being embodied.
Yeah, like beautiful and amazing from a conceptual standpoint, but like I know for me, the past 5 months have been excruciating and really like energetically painful, physically painful, emotionally crushing. It has not been pretty. And when I asked, like, why does it have to be so intense? They're like, because right now the way humans move is when you're uncomfortable and you're still in duality. And so this is just going to be challenging. Sorry, like be patient were kind of the messages that I got. Um, but I actually want to bring up another thing that came up, and that was that in a couple different sessions, I was seeing people were in the space between. That was what they called it, was the space between. And Liz, I'm sure you've seen this in your sessions or you've experienced it, but I had a couple clients who were in between lives, and the lifetime that they were seeing was that space between lives where it's just sort of a, like I describe it as like the feeling when you get home and you take off tight jeans, or like ladies, like the feeling when we get home and you take off an uncomfortable bra. Like you're like, oh, get off me, stop touching my skin. I can breathe again. And that feeling of the in between, I think is kind of not where we are now, but I think it's just nice for us to know about it. And it gave me such a great sense of peace knowing that there's a moment to pause, there's a moment to rest in between these things, right? So, like, if we are wiped off the planet, okay, fine, no big deal. Maybe we'll be in the space between, maybe we'll be above that, who knows? But it's not all just a firing squad of lifing. That somehow like made me feel better.
Oh my gosh, I love that, the firing squad of lifing, because it really has been that way, not only since January. And I've talked
Yeah.
about this on social media, all the stuff that I've been through. I mean, I was on the couch going, oh my gosh, was I better not knowing? Like during the shit, like the
Oh,
awakening,
yeah.
like, was I better off not knowing? This is really hard. This is really rough. I can't get
Yeah.
out of my own way. I feel like I'm in the in between, like you were saying. Like, I know that everything from the past is like leaving and I'm creating a new, but I don't know what the new is. And I have found myself here before multiple times throughout my life, but it's just so big right now because it's like the old paradigm. It's like at least I had an inkling of what I was going to be creating. It's like now I have
Yeah.
zero and I'm just like creating it on the fly pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
this year has been intense for sure, and I'm sure everybody's feeling this. Listeners out there, if you are also feeling this, know that you are in the shift, you are awakening, and you're changing. So I know I have to keep reminding myself, like, have faith, stay out of the doubt, watch what I'm thinking, try to pull myself out of it when I start to dip. It's super hard and difficult. Lizzie, how about for you?
It's been brutal. And what I've been sitting with sort of, and again, I've done plant medicine, and I've never, in all of my plant medicine ceremonies, I've never had one of like the hardcore dark nights of the soul where like my ego had to break or anything like that. But there have been moments in the past 3 months, even like certainly that eclipse season, which I'm not an astrologer, I'm not into all of that, but man, did that kick my ass
Yeah.
out loud in the middle of the night, crying and saying out loud, what do you want from me? What do you want? I will give you whatever. Just stop this. Like the thought, it was like they were making me look at every thought that has been toxic and really assessing, like, are you going to stick with this? Which was how I felt when I did Iboga. It was like I was glued to a mat and forced to go through every single thought. And I was like, haven't I done this already? So I feel like there's uh, and frankly, when my client was in that space between, she was raised some form of Christianity, and I'm a Jewish girl, so I had no clue what she was talking about. But she's in the space between, and she said she started laughing in this hypnotic state. She's like, Lizzie, Jesus is here. Like I'm looking at Jesus. What is going on? And I'm like, I have no clue, but ask him what's up. Like ask him why he's here. Why is he showing up? And he turned around and he had like the crown of thorns, which again, I don't know all these references. I wasn't raised with it. And he said to her, I already died for all of your sins. Why are you still so committed to suffering? And I kept thinking about that when I was in all those dark nights, crying and everything. Like, I'm choosing to suffer. I'm still choosing to give these thoughts airtime. I know better intellectually, but there's something that isn't being released. There's something that, like, I'm still stuck in that old paradigm, knowing, like, to your point, knowing the new one is here. I just don't know how to get there. And so, at least to me, these sessions and being able to witness all these sessions has been so helpful in knowing just hold on. because every single session, I end every session asking the client's soul. Let me back up a second. So the way that I work these sessions, they're 3 hours. You, as the client, you curate a list of questions you'd want to ask your guides, your highest self, your soul. We go into this light hypnotic state. You see 3 or 4 lifetimes that I'm guiding you through. We're asking questions, and like 9.5 times out of 10, the lifetimes we see are answering the questions that you had. And then after those, it just so happens, after those, we call in your soul or your subconscious, whoever wants to come through. And I'm reading your questions to you. And so the questions are being answered from you. And my clients keep saying they know their mouth is moving and they're speaking, but they don't know where the words are coming from. So it's like your soul has an opportunity to speak through you. So it's you answering your own questions about what in the world is happening here and why am I doing this and what's going on? Why do I have colitis and why does my knee hurt and how do I find, forgiveness for my mom? And so I end every one of those sections of these sessions with what's my soul's purpose? And 100% of the time, it's to enjoy and to find love. 100% of the time. So it's like you were saying, like, we know that we're meant here for all this good, and intellectually that's lovely. But in practicality, I feel like we're being pulled through this vice to get to the unconditional love in this human body, which we've never, I don't think, been able to since we were infected with the virus of fear.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Last year, I had an experience that I've talked about on the podcast, and it was like all I saw was the beauty and the joy and the love. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
And I think even practicing like on the day to day, when I get stuck in my head, I'm like, I am not my mind. I am not my body. This is why I'm supposed to be here. The reason why my brain is doing this is the conditioning. And you talked about that in the 5 things that were coming up, like that human conditioning, um, how we're programmed to with performance and productivity and perfection. And I think it's fantastic that that's coming up in session. I think, like, tell us a little bit more, Lizzie, about like what you're seeing in your clients, how you're seeing this programming, and what we can do to sort of pull ourselves out of that and into this new.
So the other way that I work with people, the past life quantum healing is something that people can book as a one-off session, but it's also part of a package when I'm really doing transformation work with someone. And the other work that I do is where we go back to your childhood programming. And this is where I'm able to use my gift or my skill or whatever we want to call it, where I can see what the old programs were. So I can see and I can help take you back to, you had to learn to be afraid of being confident. You had to learn to be afraid of being humiliated. You learned all those things between the ages of like 4 to 10 when you walked in the house after school thinking mom was going to be in a great mood. Mom just got off a bad phone call that you knew nothing about, but you walked in screaming and threw your backpack down and wanted to tell her about the art project. And she looked at you like, can't you see that I can't do this right now? And you, as a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, programmed in, oh shit, I thought her response was going to be, I love you. You're so amazing. This is incredible. It didn't go that way. I can't trust what I think it's going to be. I can't trust what I think is going to happen. I should have seen that coming. So I need to second guess myself a little bit more to make this a little safer, because that feeling of rejection sucked. And I don't want to feel that again. So we program all these things in, which are smart, right? It's why we don't touch the hot stove the second time. It's our nervous system taking over and our subconscious mind, making sure that we get to 40 years old, 60 years old, 80 years old. And so it's great. What's not great is that we're still running on that programming as a 45-year-old woman. I'm still running on the fear of being too confident because I don't want to be smacked down. So the other part of the work that I do is cleaning up those old programs that it's really hard for us to see from inside because you've never known an adult thinking life without it. So much of what we're cleaning up is the idea that we are taught that we're not here to enjoy life. We have to earn enjoying life. We have to be worthy of enjoying life. If we make a lot of money, then we can enjoy life. If we impact enough lives, then we can, right? We're taught if then. But really, we come in here thinking that we deserve because when we're hungry, we cry. And when we need our diaper changed, we let them know. But we're taught out of that. And so what we're seeing in sessions now is like, hey, you guys got to get rid of all of that bullshit because it was just what you learned to survive. It just again, it went too far. The virus took over.
Gosh, that's
Does that
wonderful
make
because I
sense?
think to step forward, we need to leave that old behind and realize it's like, okay, that worked for us. That got us to where we are right now, but that's not where we are right now. We don't need to bring that forward with us. It's time for us to start living the new. This
Okay.
shift is literally the shift out of that and into this, into the new, to where we
Yeah.
don't have to do any of that. It's just about, living our purpose, following our intuition, being in a flow, allowing the universe to just open up for us. I love that you brought this forward and meant to enjoy life. We are like really meant to enjoy life. I don't want to be on my deathbed, when I'm 80, 90, 100 years old and look back and be like, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know,
Yeah.
I want to enjoy now.
It's amazing to look at. So in these past lives, we end each one seeing how that lifetime ended and the transition, and then kind of look back like we know that every life has a lesson. What was the lesson? And all of them, it never has to do with like, I was a really smart person and I really did well financially, right? We know that again, intellectually, we know that. But even as you're saying, we're here, we want to live our purpose. I know even for me, there are a lot of days where I'm like, I don't freaking know what my purpose is. I don't know. And it feels like I'm wasting life, like I'm wasting days puttering around, not even really enjoying the puttering around, but just trying to fill time until this shift happens. And so and a lot of clients come to me and they're like, listen, I'm a lawyer, I'm a CEO, I'm responsible for 140 other families feeding their kids. Like, don't tell me to quit my job and move to the woods and create a garden. And so, kind of the work that I do is like, I'm not going to tell you to quit your job. If you're a lawyer and you have golden handcuffs, keep the golden handcuffs on. I get it. But figure out a way to stop the old triggers from triggering because that's what the anxiety is about.
Mm.
And that's what the pain in your hip is about. That's what the depression is about. Like your old ways of coping that you had as a kid aren't working anymore. Your soul has been nudging you gently as long as it could, and now it's got to shove a knife in your back to get you to stop and look at what you're doing and pay attention. And it is not that you have to leave the marriage, quit the job, stop talking to your mother. It's about what is it that they're telling you that you're believing? Because once you change that belief, all the shit that's triggering you stops triggering you. Sorry, I'm swearing. I hope that's
Oh,
okay.
no, it's fine. And I think it's great that you brought up the triggers because that's something we can work through, right? Like, as I aged, I got to the point with my mother where I accepted her for who she was and she no longer triggered me. I think it's a process that we all have to go through as we're evolving to figure out, okay, this job, what is it about this job that's triggering me? Can I work with the trigger so I can show up at work and, not be in stress all the time? Can I show
Yeah.
up with my mom and not be in stress all the time and not allow that to trigger these emotions? Just accept her for who she is and enjoy her for who she is and then move on, same with anything else in life. And I like that you brought up the pain in the body too, because that is so real. I mean, we've got the woman who, is going through the divorce. And then after the divorce is final, all of a sudden she's got fibromyalgia and her whole body is aching and it's showing up in that way. And it's like you said, it shows up like as the knife in your back or the knees that are bothering or your shoulders hurting you. I was talking about that a couple podcasts ago
Yeah.
about my right shoulder. And it's so real how, it manifests in our body physically.
I did a session yesterday, and this client wouldn't mind me sharing this, but she has ulcerative colitis, and she's a single mom of two, a lawyer. She does pro bono work, and she's an incredible woman. But when we were asking her soul, what is this meant to teach her? And like, is she on the right meds? And is there anything we can do to make it go away or at least understand what these flare ups are for. And the first thing that her soul said was, it's when you're mean. Like there was this generational um, lineage thing that was passed down of not just narcissism, but like mean spirited anger, resentment, jealousy, that kind of vibe. And she sees it in herself and is mad, right? Is like, I'm mad that I have it. Like I'm mean about me having the meanness. And so once we were clearing that, what we asked was, why is it here? And they said, it's because you're sitting in the meanness. You're not even letting yourself express it. And when you do express it, it comes out so big and so bold. And then you spiral into shame about how you expressed it. So it's like you keep compounding the acidity onto yourself, and it's our only way to get you to pay attention. So we had to literally turn your bowels on fire in order to get you to stop and pay attention to what you're doing. So, yes, we're going to calm it down and we're going to quiet it and know that if you have another flare up, that's what we want you to look at. It's because it came back in that way. And so we like cleared that. Another one, this is more like woo woo, but a physical therapist that I work with who obviously knows the body very well and has had other people working on her, had a pain in her rib cage that she couldn't figure out how to make it go away. And we saw in one of her past lives, she was a soldier and she was stabbed in that spot. And she just kept going. And in this session, I was like, wait, where is it? And she told me where it was, and I said, okay, can you either clear the scar tissue? And she said no. And I said, do I have permission to clear it? And she said yes. And I said, this is how I'm seeing to clear it. I'm in there, I'm using these mittens, I'm clearing this stuff off, I'm bringing this healing gel in, I'm using these gloves, this is what I'm doing. Is this what you want me to do? Yes. So I do all the things. The pain went away. Like it was
Wow.
completely gone. She still doesn't have the pain back. So sometimes it's magical and woo woo like that. And then sometimes I had another client who has MS, and they said, these 5 flare ups, when these things happen, it's because we want you to know this message. And when these other flare ups happen, it's because we want you to know this message. So, like, these sessions kind of serve as a roadmap of what it is that we need to know, how they want us to know it. It's like going to the back of the book and looking up the answers to the questions, which, like, if anyone is my age or older, in our textbooks, we used to be able to look in the back for the answers.
Totally. Oh my God, back in the day for sure. And God, it's so amazing that you bring this up because it's so true. If we just like sit in the pain and just ask, what are you trying to tell me? And to have these, ways that we can do it with past life quantum healing or energy work or something like that, that's the gift. Or, if you're working with a psychic or a medium, to be able to figure out, okay, what is this ache and pain telling me? And I swear, Lizzie, you were totally channeling my mom, in the first example that you gave, because that was her. And I think a lot of women, from the past have that in, their intergenerational trauma. And that is how they coped with things because they weren't allowed to have a voice. They had to just put up with everything, have the lid on. So that's how it came out, was that anger and resentment.
and
It's so real.
and by the way, obviously, like as a woman, I've lived lives as the masculine as well. And I think so much of what I'm seeing come through in these sessions is most of us have been the victim and the victimizer. And so much of it is about letting go of the judgment of the story, right? Like my mom is bitter and angry and doesn't do any of her own work and won't go to therapy. And there have been lifetimes where I've done that too. And there have been moments in this life where I haven't wanted to look at shit. So it's also about, yes, women have been, silenced. And I've also lived lifetimes where I'm sure I was silencing women, right? I'm sure
Yeah.
there have been lifetimes where I've been sexually assaulted and where I've been the one sexually assaulting. So it's about like really letting go. And this is a hard one to swallow. And I'm still working on it of like, just let go of the judgments because that's our only way to getting to unconditional love. I'm not saying that I need to love my victimizer,
Mhm.
but it's not mine to judge. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, it's a really hard to pull out and get that worldview or universe view. Like we don't know what the soul has signed up for, what they are to do, why, what is the lesson for them or the person that they're interacting with, in past lives. Like you said, we have been on both sides of the fence. I think because, even if the past life is just 10 years ago, we need to see both sides of the coin. Or if you have the diamond, all 12 sides of that fractal diamond, what are the perspectives? What is the lesson? It's different from every single side. And can we zoom out and really try to like see, what is the lesson on the other side of the coin? If I can learn the lesson, or you'll learn it by experiencing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Something that happened for me in 2023, I came back and I was going through like a breakup and it was just gnarly. And my back, I was a yoga teacher for 10 years. I've never had issues like that. My back was so bad. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't do anything. I was like basically crying all day. And this lasted a long time. And there was a physical reason why it was so bad. Like when I got an MRI, the doctors understood this is what's wrong and they helped me. Like the epidural saved me. And I still had to do my energetic work and I couldn't see it, right? Like I was calling everybody I knew, like, what am I missing? Because I've done my work and I will sit in the pain and I will look at all the things and take ownership and I'm missing something. So I'm saying that because those of you listening who are like, I sit in it and I listen and I am intuitive and I can't get it. I couldn't either. And sometimes when the call is coming from inside the house, it's really hard to see. So, like, that to me is when we ask for help.
Yeah, same. That's when I pick up my phone and I call my mentor friend up in Anacortes. I'm like, okay, I need your help. Do you have time today? Or whatever,
Yeah.
or the universe is like, hey, here's this person, or here's this reel, or here's this email, and here's the answer, which is
Yes.
also how it
Yeah.
comes in for me, which I feel really blessed about. I want to get into the other one too, where you are talking about like, we're already in the shift has started. And, what
Yeah.
that means for us as a collective.
So this one, and I want to just say this about everything that I've said, all of these are what I know to be true. I think it's really I think that the space that we're in this like healing world is beautiful and amazing. And I think something that triggers me is that sometimes people will shoot back like you're totally wrong and that's not how you're supposed to do that kind of a thing and that's ridiculous that you would say X, Y, and Z. So I want to preface this with like this is what I've heard. This is what I know to be true and I'm sure hopefully tomorrow I get new information that expands on this. So, what I know now, or what I've been told so far, is that yes, this has started. This shift has started. The other beings are here. They've been here. They're not afraid of us. Those of us that are not going to be afraid of them will have an easier time shifting into this. Those of us that have even an inkling of opening and curiosity and knowing that we don't know it all will move through with open arms as best they can. And it's those that are really closed down and those that are really committed to their fear and really committed to this is the way. And if it's not this way, the rest of you are going to die. That's the place where it gets a little bit stickier. And really, where I go in that part is like, it's none of my business. I don't I don't think that there's going to be anything harmful that happens. What I've been told is those that stay in old earth will stay as it is. They will stay experiencing the fear and the destruction and the blah 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 and they'll probably be just fine. But those of us that are moving on, it's because we have that curiosity, that opening, that willingness to not know. And I think that's kind of the key. One of the beings that came through, this was like a whole different type of entity, like had a different body and everything. And they said to me, this was through a client's voice saying this. They said, you talking to me, you are a phoenix. You've done this so many times. You've had to rise from the ashes so many times. And I was instantly crying, which felt really inappropriate as the practitioner, but this was a friend of mine. And I said, why does that make me cry? And they said, because you've had to do this so many times. You're just so tired. But this time, it's like the thing that I keep hearing or from different entities is we're trying it differently this time to see if we could do this while you're still in this human body. And we know we've done this so many times and we've like dangled the carrot so many times, but please just keep reaching for the carrot. Please just keep faith and keep hope. And that's sort of the message that I keep getting. So for all of us in this boat together, the reality is none of us know what the fuck is going on. None of us know if we're talking to souls or angels or guides or spirits or entities or anything. We are all winging this. And anyone who says they know it for a fact, in my opinion, is full of shit. And
Yeah.
we're all doing the very best that we can. And I'm showing up for these sessions because I'm consistently getting the response that people feel lighter and more hopeful, and they're having better relationships with their kids and their parents, and they're in more joy. So I'll keep doing the sessions. But as far as like, how's it going to go and what's step 5 going to look like? This is what I'm told, but I don't freaking know. I don't think any of us know. And I think the danger is when people say that they do.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you pointed out the benefits too, because that was going to be my next question. And when we do this work, when we show up, for your past life quantum healing or show up for the energy work or whatever healing it might be, that's what we get in return is that hope that everything's going to be okay. Or listening to this podcast, meaning like, okay, I'm not the only one that's feeling this. There are other people out there feeling it. I'm not alone, you know, I'm experiencing this, but it's not out of the ordinary and it's not just me. Like there are other people going through this too, which I think will ease a lot of hearts too.
I think the number one, when I first got into this work, I thought, and this was, over 10 years ago, so I was a different girl then, but I thought like, I'm going to help people quit smoking and I'm going to help people manifest more money and the relationship of their dreams. And what was happening was they weren't as stressed at their jobs. They could be on vacation with their mother and not cry every day. They stayed in a marriage that they loved. They just couldn't figure out how to make it work. And they were able to now make it work so that they didn't have to divide their families. So it wasn't necessarily these like magic wand, let's change everything about it. But it was this work helps people get through the hard thing and release the hard thing because life isn't meant to be this hard. It doesn't need to be this. You're not stuck. You're just in an old thought pattern that we can change.
Mm. I love that you said that. It doesn't have to be hard. And it really doesn't. Life does not need to be hard. I want to go
You,
back into the different beings that you're seeing because I do like to bring this aspect of life to our listeners. So, who are the beings? Who are you seeing? Like, what are the possibilities for us that you've seen in your clients that, the light being, the star seed? Let's get into that and talk about
yeah.
that.
Okay. So the star seeds were kind of the biggest and the loudest. And I asked, how does somebody know that they are a star seed? And they said, it's the feeling that you've never quite fit in here. Like I've always felt like I could be in the circle and I could be friends with like the popular crowd, but I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. I knew how to play the role really well, but I never felt like I was waiting for someone to say like one of these things is not like the other.
Right.
So there's that feeling that like you've never quite fit. Um, there are certainly the indigo children who have always known that they had some magic power. And then there are those who are going to just sort of start to have this like a whisper or an idea of like something is going on, something is different, something feels different. And that will get louder and louder and louder. So those are the star seeds. And I was told multiple different planets have star seeds here specifically to help, and we don't necessarily even need to do anything. We are as that the some of the star seeds are going to essentially serve as an antenna to bring that love energy in and spread it around, and then also to send knowledge and information back. And there's nothing you need to do. It's happening without you even being aware of it. So you don't have to do anything about that. The other beings were not necessarily visible to the naked eye, and they're all over the place. So I haven't had anyone come in that was like dark. Somebody asked me recently if I protect my sessions, and I don't necessarily like do a whole song and dance about it, but it's for the good, the highest good of all concerned. And in my opinion, the darkness that we're seeing is my own darkness. If I am oneness, if I am all of the things, then that's mine that I'm seeing. So there's something for me to learn about it. Um, so we look at that too, right? Like we look at, where do I think I'm not good enough? Where do I think I'm not enough? Where do I think I need to stay small in order to survive? Where are all of those things? So those entities and energies coming through. I talked about the space between, there were some beings that were described as just being, for those of you listening, I'm like imagine if you're looking at oil on the street and it just has those like wispy shapes. They didn't have a start and a stop. It was just energy and they would move together. So like they would just consciously, like birds that decide to turn left out of nowhere, the energy just sort of moves and they're able to move our energy based on what's happening. It kind of felt like a little astrological, like how I know nothing about astrology, but like Aries season comes in and then all of a sudden we all feel a certain way. Like they shift things a certain way and then all of the energy shifts. So that was another place. And that was one of the places where they said, we can't give you a name. You don't have a name for us. Um, there was the in between where that was like Jesus and like the avatars that we know of, the gods, the deities, the Zeuses, those kind of things were all there. What else? There were the beings from the other planets that looked like animals. Oh, one of my clients was a mermaid. She had a whole lifetime that we saw of her as a mermaid, like a proper, she had a mermaid boyfriend and and she was laughing through the whole thing. She's like, this is, I'm like, this is unbelievable, but keep going. Um, I've had clients who were animals who like came in as animals and experienced what it was like to be in a pack and to do that kind of a lifetime. And then there are these places that I've seen where they call it the surrender. And each client, when I'm doing a one-on-one, I call these one-on-one alignments where it's like an intuitive reading, but I'm doing the work. And they show me how each human, like each one of us in a zip up suit, has a certain place that we can go where we can actually surrender. Because most of my clients were like very type A empaths, right? We are go, 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 go. I want to be quote unquote successful, but also I can feel your energy. And so those kind of beings, we don't really know how to surrender. And we're told just surrender, just let go, just let it be, just trust. We physically and energetically don't know how to do that. Our nervous systems don't know how. So I'm often shown where to take you and give you that visual on how to surrender. And then you can practice that in, a half a second of like, okay, I'm in this meeting. I want to claw her throat out. I'm just going to go to that place in my head. And it instantly brings your nervous system back to peace. So, all these different things happening. I'm sure the second we hang up, I'll think of 12 more. Were there any others that I told you about?
Not that I can think of right now, but what I keeps on popping in my mind is that multi-dimensional way that we're being. And to remember that it's not just this one plane of existence, this physical reality that we're all seeing or projecting onto whatever this is, that it is this multi-dimensional experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it takes me back to anyone who says they have it figured out with a period at the end. Like that to me is the biggest red flag because it is so deep and so complex and we know as far as we can imagine, like the place that most of us get back to is oneness. But what created the oneness? What started the oneness, right? Like we can keep going. And I think that's where we get to, for me at least, that's helped me get to the surrender of like, yeah, I'm not here to figure it out. I'm not here. I keep feeling like this is a Truman Show and I'm about to poke my hole through the screen. It's like on the tip of my tongue. And then I'm like, well, if I were meant to poke my finger through the hole, I would have. I'm clearly like, let's just stay in the video game. Let's just enjoy the simulation and see how we do.
Me too, and I like that book going right at the tip of the tongue, and it's just right there. But I know it's like that person that does ayahuasca and it blows every circuit in their body, or the person who has a spontaneous awakening, all of a sudden they can talk to beings or aliens or multidimensional travel, and sometimes those experiences can be mind blowing, literally. And
Yeah.
there's a working back to getting grounded and embodied again. And I think
Yeah.
a nice, gentle opening. Um, for people out there listening who are working with their Kundalini energy or doing energy work or doing plant medicine, a nice gentle opening is the preferred way than the all of a sudden like bam, you're there. Because for one, the way that I sense is like it is beyond imagination. Like my brain could not even fathom everything that probably exists or everything that it is or isn't
Yeah.
or what oneness is or isn't. And it just goes on. I interview a lot of people about near death experiences or past life experiences. And they talk about near death like there's this barrier where when they're having that near death experience, they're in the light, they're talking to a being or whatever it may be, but there is a boundary where they don't get to go because if they pass that boundary, that's it. They can't come back into the life. And I think that there's a reason also to that. Like our astral body or energy body or soul self, whatever you want to call it, has that boundary. So we can't see the big picture. So even in like a near death experience, go ahead.
Yeah. One of the final things that I want to leave you with, because I did that you reminded me of something. They keep telling me it's going to be better than you can imagine. And in my last session, when the Arcturian being was here, I said, if you keep telling me it's going to be better than I can imagine, our old way of manifesting, we were taught we need to see it and imagine it and live in it, and then it can be. So if it's better than I can imagine, how am I ever going to get out of this? And I said, I feel like I'm stuck in a cocoon and the ace bandage is too tight and I can't get it off of me. And it feels like anxiety. And I've never been someone who's an anxious person. I feel like it's too constricting and I don't know where to go. I don't know how to manifest anymore. And they said, stop, just put it all down. Just for now, for the next, few months, put all of that old way of thinking down. That old way of manifesting is old. That old way, like you are in a cocoon. It is sticky. It's like when you have a scab that's on and half the scab is off, but half the scab is still on. And if you rip the old part off, you're going to open the wound again. Just don't touch it. Like just the advice that I was given was just take your hands off the wheel and let it straighten itself out. Stop trying so hard. We've actually got this. And all you need to do is surrender. So, the work, I'm putting this in air quotes, the work that I've been doing for the past month has been to just stop trying. And like, I'm not as busy as I used to be, which in my old type A brain is like, I got to send more emails. I got to post more reels. I got to bring in business. And then I'm like, I don't. I just need to take my hands off the wheel and let my nervous system calibrate to this new thing that's happening and just trust that they know better than I do because I'm just this like sixth world little ant climbing up the hill and I am not expected to know. So I think for those of you that have been in that feeling like we're being electrocuted, I feel you, I'm with you. If you DM me, we can have this conversation, but like all I've been told is stop trying so hard. So really what my sessions are providing is like again, take the bra off, take the uncomfortable jeans off, just give yourself room to breathe again. Everything is coming to be, and it is going to be better than we can imagine. So stop trying to manifest. Like we're
I so
limiting
love that you said
ourselves
that.
by trying.
Yeah, I think so too. And I
It's
have
been
to keep
driving me.
reminding myself that. Me too. It has been driving me insane too this whole time because I catch myself falling back into, okay, I got to do the posts. I got to be on social media. I got to put up the classes. I got to do this. I have to like bring in more clients. I'm stressing about money, but I don't need to stress about money. Everything is okay. I'm all right. I've got this. And it's this back and forth that's going on,
Yeah.
like you said, like do. And it's like, no, hands off the wheel, remind myself, get out of the doubt, surrender, like you were saying. And boy, surrender is a huge thing for me.
It's so
It's,
hard. It's impossible. Because again, our nervous systems tell us if you surrender, the bear is going to catch you and eat you. do not surrender. You have to run. But it's because we've been raised the way we were raised and we were taught it's really hard if you want to make a good living. You got to work really hard. And right, like this goes back to why I do the work that I do. It's the old shit that we were taught that is just not going to work anymore. It's not going to happen anymore. So for me, by changing that, it has changed everything. It doesn't mean that it's easy and it doesn't mean that it's a free ride, but it's easier and it's
Awesome.
lighter and it's more flowy. And I'll take it for now.
Yes, me too. Hands off. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally giving myself the daily reminder. Hands off. It's okay. We got this. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And I keep actually reminding myself, it's not that we have this, like my higher self has it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck is going on. I am a toddler trying to drive a car, but you know, I'll leave you with like this last image. I was in plant medicine and I was told, we see you guys, like our higher selves guides, see us the way we see our pets. So like when I would like go to the bathroom and close the door and my dog would scratch, scratch, scratch. I was like, babe, I'm right here. Relax. I'm coming back out. You're not alone. And that's the way Source sees us. It was like, we're right here. We're just going to I'm throwing stuff out down the hall. I'll be back in 1 second. Relax.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. My son and I, before the recording, were just saying that about our older dog is right there at the bathroom. Like, why are you in there
Right,
freaking out? I'm stressed
right,
out. It's
right. Here
totally
you
a
go.
thing.
Yeah,
I'm just like, go lay down and relax.
right,
Everything is fine.
right. It's the toddler. My sister's kids used to hang on her legs saying, I want you, I want you, I want you. And she was like, I could not be more right here.
Yeah, for real.
So yeah. So just we got to trust our higher selves and know what's up.
I'm glad that you brought that up too, that higher self too, because I really feel like when I was laying on the couch those months, I'm like, it is literally a battle between my soul self, who is becoming more embodied in me, and my ego self going, no, we have to do this, we have to do that, da 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 da, all the talk. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, just take a chill pill and relax, and always coming back to the higher self, the soul. The soul's got this. The higher self has this.
Yeah.
Just relax.
But with compassion. Because I
Yes.
get into, and again, my type A empaths listening, you're going to get this. We get into like, why can't I just relax? I told you to relax. Just stop, just surrender. And what I think I'm trying to get into and remember is I was taught to hustle. I was literally trained, right? My parents work in retail. It was like, are you so busy today? That was the sign of a good day. Were you so busy? Right? And I have to say to them, no, that's not my goal. I'm not here to be so busy. And it to them that felt safe. They weren't trying to be jerks. That felt safer to them. So with compassion, just the way you wouldn't like scream at your toddler. I mean, we do, but scream at your toddler, scream at the elderly dog, like, sweetie, I'm right here. Please, I'm right here. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. That's the way I'm trying, not always successfully, but trying to talk to my ego self of like, I
Yeah.
know it feels
Yeah.
like you need to be making more money, but really look at what's going on. Look at the big picture. We're totally fine. We're totally fine.
Yeah.
So trying to play with it that way and play gently has been better for me than get your shit together. Stop nagging me about money.
Yeah. It's all new. It's a new program. Yeah.
Yeah.
Old program, bye bye. New program
Yeah.
in. Just surrender, relax, hands off the wheel. Awesome. Lizzie, is there
Yeah.
anything that we haven't covered that you would like to share with our audience as we wrap up?
I mean, like a million things, but nothing I can think of right this second. But if anything wild comes up in a session, I will make sure that I reach out to you so I can fill you in.
Perfect. And how can people reach you and work with you?
So you can book a session directly. I offer 2 sessions that you can book on my website. And that's Lizzi, Lizzi, Cutler, Cutler.com. And I'm also on Instagram and I'm always happy to engage in a DM and a conversation on there. And same thing on Instagram, it's Lizzi Cutler. Just make sure you don't put an E in Lizzie or you won't find me.
Perfect. And Lizzie, I always ask one final question. What is a jewel of wisdom that you would like to leave our listeners with today?
A jewel of wisdom. Okay, so this is my jewel of wisdom. When I pray, which again, not a religious girl, but when I pray, I've been praying to my 97-year-old self, and that's who I pray to. And I also pray to my 7-year-old self. So instead of, for those of us that don't feel as religious or as connected to prayer, it's been really amazing. And it's been a game changer for me to sort of pray to that version of me who's got long silver hair with cool turquoise jewelry and all the beautiful wrinkles. And she would just hold my face in her hands and say, like, babe, none of this shit matters. And also to look at my 7-year-old adorable, toothless, frizzy haired self and say, you are precious and adorable, and you are so loved and so protected, and you're going to get there. So that's my nugget. Pray to
I
you.
love that. Love it. Thank you, Lizzie. Lizzie, it's been so great to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on with me. It's been such a great conversation. And I know this will benefit a lot of people. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for reaching out, and thanks to all who are listening.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, this is Lizzi Cutler, and you can find her at lizzicutler.com and on social media, Lizzi Cutler. And then you can find me at raisethevibewithliz.com and everywhere on social media at Raise the Vibe with Liz. Thanks, everybody. Go out there and enjoy your day. And don't forget to raise the vibe. Bye now.